Hey there, guys. One of these days, I promise I'll get a another microphone. I know this Bluetooth with this kind of low-end way of recording isn't the super best, and of course, a lot of things about my YouTubes are very sketchy in terms of production values. But I'm laying the groundwork. I'm going to be on the road, let's say, and I won't have time to do like lectures, and yet people have this they want to know, and I'll have done these. They'll be in the bank, so to speak. So I'm just laying some groundwork here, and then I can go back over this material and do it better, and I can just be behind the camera and we can do it a whole different way. What I want to talk about though now is where do we put this? I've been making a claim here. I've been suggesting a strategy, actually, more likely, which is how to phase in some new material into a curriculum that I've been working on. Quite a bit of new material, and people already have busy lives, and when are we ever going to find room? And wasn't Bucky just kind of an opportunist who flitted from great idea to great idea that he did not invent, he would popularize? And then when it came to stringing them all together and making it, claiming them as sort of his creations, that's when he wrote Synergetics to tie it all together, and we can brand that as gibberish, kind of Finnegan's Wake. And it's not really a strong entry into the humanities to sort of say, well, we got kicked out of STEM, no one there took it seriously, so can you please take us in retroactively now? Can you please help us be humanities in Synergetics world? And that could be, you can portray it that way and see what I'm anticipating is Bucky's detractors. That's kind of what they have up their sleeve, and they want to make sure that we don't keep him, we need to keep the guy in his corner, which is a popularizer and someone it's okay to sort of put out front as a crowd pleaser and a draw, but once you're inside the cathedral, that's not who you talk about, and actually his stuff is still pretty heretical. So now what I want to say in this video, which is over half over, is that no, he comes into the humanities rightly, right from the beginning, in writing his No More Secondhand God and the poetry books and stuff like that. It's not a retroactive rehabilitation that we're attempting, but more deeply, it's of mind and brain. What I'm showing it with the medium essay here is that we need to take seriously that he did not want these two very different English words, mind and brain, to be just casually interchanged with one another in his philosophy. That, to my view, I'm thinking he's made a good choice there because it's a waste. Even if mind is meaningless, we might as well make sure that we say that and then still have brain mean what it means, rather than conflate the two, if that thought makes any sense. But I'm not taking mind to be meaningless either. Just to review in Fuller's view, and this is where I would link to a big literature, I'm going to start with this one. In fact, this is the only one I'm going to show right now, a book by Maurice Nicole, right? This is a Scottish Jungian, and he had all these workshops, and a lot of these books are almost transcripts from his workshops, and he was influenced by what I call the Russian mystics, P.D. Uspensky and Gurdjieff. Again, that's the title here. It says Psychological Commentaries on the Teaching of Gurdjieff and Uspensky by Maurice Nicole, who is of Scottish ancestry and is a Jungian. All right, so interesting books, but this whole side of this whole branch of literature tends to emphasize the robotic aspect of humans, that they are reflex machines, or run on autopilot, run on automatic. And we see this about ourselves sometimes. We sort of, especially when you're traveling in strange lands, your ordinary reflexes that are perfect at home, all of a sudden you're doing things that don't help, like the way you deal with situations is always under stress and pressure to change, to adopt local customs, or just it's a new set of circumstances, whatever. When we're outside our comfort zone, that's where it becomes obvious that a lot of the time we have the comfortable reliance on kind of reflexes are appropriate. And that's where Fuller would put the brain. Like the machine learning aspect of life is the brain for him. It's the sort of programmable, instantaneous response bank where we store our kind of our best jokes, you could say, our coolest gestures. People can practice in front of a mirror, smoking in cool ways. That's something people do. You're programming yourself, but where are we getting our sense of aesthetics? How do we know we're out of sync with our surroundings? The incoming intuition is like an upgrade. It feels like like an idiocracy. No, it feels like we're getting smarter, we're getting more educated vis-a-vis our surroundings as time goes on. It's our ability for genius, and it does feel like it wells up. It comes from outside. We pray for it. We talk about grace. It's if we had it in it, if we felt like we were already there, that we didn't need to upgrade, then why would we so earnestly seek insights? Like, people go to bed I just need to solve this, because a lot of times it's science and it's puzzles. And science makes breakthroughs because of the mind, we would say, in the fuller corpus. So I was, I've taken more than the time I thought. I was going to say I was half over. But I just wanted to say no, Fuller really was thinking philosophically, very philosophically, right from the start. And the fact that he took his year of silence or whatever, he nuances that. It's not like he didn't answer the door. And the fact that he had the near suicide and brought that up a lot. His sort of emotional life was important. And why people think he's in denial about emotion or not paying any attention to the sort of spiritual side, which is why I think they want to kick him out. A lot of people want to kick him out of the humanities. They don't see where he's encoding psychological kind of feelings in his talk about phase spaces in sense of Gibbs phase space. Alchemy is kind of in synergetics. Like how you feel psychologically is what he calls tactile, which is another name for visceral. And he does have a lot on the relationship between kind of a visionary mind, an enlightened sort of third eye kind of seeing kind of mental activity versus a more visceral mental activity. And he actually goes into these, but you could say in code, or really it's just being like Norman O'Brown, trying to say be on a lot of frequencies at once when he writes. And that's also what puts Fuller in the humanities. Synergetics is designed to be read metaphorically. It says metaphorical verities. Eternal truths are metaphorical truths. Like literal truths are a special case. And so synergetics being designed to get you out of special case, out of your brain, being a mind thing, generalized principles, etc., you're supposed to read it metaphorically. And science and STEM stuff is usually striving to be very literally true in very special case circumstances. That's the point of precision and so on. You can be precise in another sense too, in the way Fuller writes. You could say that's precise, but it's also literary, metaphorical, philosophical. So anyway, he's solidly planted in the humanities from the beginning. We don't have to worry about that. And then see what he brings to STEM from the philosophy side. And philosophy is quite used to hosting mathematical content. So we're not we're not in trouble here in terms of having no mathematical content. We have plenty, but we don't have to claim to be a mathematics in the sense of a formal mathematics that follows all the rules of the mathematicians. This is more of a work in the humanities that then um, intersects path and STEM intersect, or path and STEAM intersect on the A. If you know that code language, and A, I always say anthropology, which includes arts. Just to close on this, path stands for, in my view, philosophy, anthropology, theater, which includes politics, of course, and history, whereas, which is all the past, up to the second, you could say. But, history, it's a discipline. Whereas STEM, of course, is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM has been kind of long used in the North American sphere here, in the education sphere here, where I am. But path is not as much agreed upon. Like the STEM people have their act together is the idea. But I would say path is working. All right, so we'll talk. Have a good one.